Video 7! In this video, I'm going to cover Le Mans Ultimate for beginners by a beginner. Le Mans Ultimate, or LMU, is fast becoming one of the biggest sims to play in 2025. It's fast, it's furious, it's fun, and it's a whole lot of worth it. So I'm just Dave, and like most of you, or some of you out there, I'm a beginner sim racer. I've gone through the trials and tribulations of what it's like to get into this hobby. What I'd like to do with this channel is I would like to help other beginner sim racers get onto this journey and try and make it as easy as possible for you. So let's get into it. So what is LMU and why should you consider this as a beginner or even as a more experienced racer? So let's start with the basics. What is LMU or Le Mans Ultimate? If you're like me, you've probably heard of the 24-hour Le Mans or seen some crazy multi-class racing clips online but didn't know much beyond that. This game is basically the official sim racing title for the World Endurance Championship, or WEC. That includes races like Le Mans, Sebring, Spa and Monza, some of the most iconic tracks in motorsport. And you too will be a victim of Turn 1 at Monza at some point if you play this game. What makes it really unique is the kind of racing it simulates. You've got multiple classes of cars on the track at the same time. So hypercars at the front, then LMP2s and GTs further at the back. In the more advanced races, it's all about endurance, strategy and traffic management. And while the physics and realism are serious, it's totally playable if you're new. So there's no concerns there, as long as you're okay with spinning out a few times and learning as you go, especially in the hypercars. First, let's address the cost, arguably the worst side of LMU. So let's get the negative out the way so we can get to all the positives this game has to offer. At around £29 for the base game, that's fine for the early access price. But then on top of that, you have the DLC that you'll need to pay for if you want the total package. On top of that, you have their membership, which is called Race Control. The base membership is free, which will give you access to online races. You will need that to take part in any online races. Then there are two further memberships. One is Race Control Pro. That will grant you access to online championships and custom liveries when they come out in June 2025. And on top of that, you then have Race Control Pro Plus. And that gives you access to everything I've mentioned before, online championships, which are separate from the daily and weekly online races. Plus you have access to all the DLC for LMU as long as you retain that membership. So if you just want to dip your toe into the world of LMU and not commit to the price of the DLC, Race Control Pro Plus for a month is a good and cheaper way to do that, to see if you actually want to commit to the game longer term. So the 2024 pass will just complete your experience in LMU. Now, is it mandatory? Do you need it and is it worth it? Well, that depends on you and it depends on your budget and your situation. It's not for me to tell you what you should spend your money on. I'm just here to advise. But in my opinion, if you want to get the most that LMU has to offer, the DLC is kind of mandatory. It just is. They do, however, take this into account, so they do offer races online that do not use the DLC and just use the base game content, so you don't have to jump into this on day one. So what's LMU like if you're not a total beginner, but if you're a beginner to sim racing and you have played other games? Even if you have a little bit of experience in something like ACC, this is going to feel familiar to you in terms of GT3s. You've got certain differences you do need to pay attention to, and I will cover those in these videos. But for an example, the setup menu, the names are different. The traction control system is a bit more complicated. You don't just have traction control levels 1 through 11 and maybe TC2. This time you have 3 traction control numbers you need to pay attention to. We'll cover this in the video, so don't worry. I'm going to make this easy for you to understand. If you are completely new to sim racing and you've never touched another game before, is LMU a good place to start? While I would say yes, it's a strong place to start, it's not the best place to start in my personal opinion, but I will cover that in another video. The default car setups are good for beginners. They're also good for intermediates as well. And there's plenty of races that run just fixed setups, so you don't have that to worry about. And if you're looking for a slightly more aggressive setup than just the base setup, you have Coach Dave Academy setups that are baked into the game. You don't need to go finding setups for this. You just click the button on it has the big Coach Dave Academy logo, and that will load the setup for you. If you're not aware of who Coach Dave Academy is, that is basically one of the best coaching and setup companies around in sim racing. It is actually quite difficult to spin a car in LMU from what I've experienced as a beginner, and you can fine-tune your driving aids in the menus to give you a helping hand. However, with these turned off, it's still really hard to lose control of your car. But how is the AI for racing? It's quite good, actually. Is it the best out there? For me, no. I would still give that to Automobilista 2. However, compared to the likes of ACC, it sits up there as one of the better AI racing games around. They do still have a tendency to stick to the line, and on occasion, not even recognize you're there and try to steal your part of the track. But you can tweak their difficulty and their proneness to make mistakes and bring them more to your desired level. So you'll always have a challenging experience with them. Okay, so let's talk about system power and how hard this game is to run. Personally, I have an AMD 7800X3D I have an RTX, no I don't. I have a 7900 XTX paired with 32 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM. Had to think about that for a second. But I can run this game at over 110 FPS at 4K native stable. No upscaling. That is on ultra graphics. However, having said that, the game is in early access, so some of the courses, like Bahrain, for example, are not as well optimized as some of the other courses. So you may experience some frame drops on some of the tracks out there. But overall, I would say this game is capable of running on lower end hardware. I have run this on an RTX 3080 10 gig and I had no problems as well, both in flat screen and in VR. And talking about VR, for my VR brethren, this is simply one of the best VR racing games on the market, no questions asked. There is one better sim racing game in VR, and that is Automobilista 2. Now, this isn't as clear as AMS2, both in terms of clarity and performance. That game is easier to run. To steal Todd Howard's phrase, it just works. Only this time, it actually does just work. But if you'd like a video on how I actually run this game in VR, then please do let me know in the comments. I have it running beautifully at 72 FPS and 90 FPS, both wired and wireless on the Quest 3. So if you'd like that video, please do let me know in the comments. Happy to do it, happy to help you out. Okay, so with that in mind, what tips do I have for you as a fellow beginner based on the experience I've had so far? Okay, so tip number one, when you start, you're going to start with cold tires. So you're going to be slippy, you're going to have to increase your braking zone because your brakes are also going to be cold as well. You're going to have to corner slower, you're just going to have to be more careful in general. Your force feedback will also be reduced, both in terms of strength it is giving you and in terms of the detail. This is normal, so don't worry. After around 3 laps, your tires will come up to temperature, and you should now feel everything you should in terms of what the car is doing and the force feedback detail you're getting. So take it steady for your first lap, nice and easy, then start to increase your pace over the next 2 laps, and then you'll be good to go. If you spin out on your first corner or your first couple of corners on cold tires, you clearly went in too hot, so back off for a little bit, but don't get discouraged, it can take some time to learn this. Okay, tip number 2, start off with LMGT3 cars. You have 2 options for the base game here, the McLaren or the Mustang. But these are the 2 I'd recommend regardless of base game or DLC. They're the 2 easiest cars in the game to drive. The Mustang is a front engine car, which makes it a little bit more forgiving, but slower to turn into a corner, whereas the McLaren is a mid-engine car, which makes it feel overall easier to drive, but can be a little bit twitchy mid-corner. Feels a bit more like a go-kart. This is personal preference though, so it depends on your driving style. My personal style lends me towards mid-engine cars, and personally I love both the McLaren and the Ferrari 296 in that order. Both are really good fun cars to drive. Tip number 3, so if you find that the car will not rotate when you're under braking, try a different brake bias. Try 46-54 for a front car, try 50-50 for a mid-engine car. Now these numbers can be confusing, but the 46 is the front, the 54 is the rear. This will make the car rotate much more under braking and making cornering easier. But this can be more dangerous, so play around with this number and see what fits to you. The higher the number, the brake bias to the front, so say 50-50, the harder you will brake, but you will not turn in as fast. The lower the number at the front, so 46-54, you will brake a little bit slower, but you will rotate faster under braking, making cornering a lot faster and a lot easier. Okay, tip number 4, so traction control and ABS. For those of you who are not aware, traction control, what that will do is if you put your power down too early and the car's rear wheels are going to spin, the system will actually cut the power to the rear wheels to stop you spinning the rear wheels and stop you spinning the car out. For traction control in LMU, you will see 3 numbers. You will have traction control, which is the overall power to the system. You'll have TC cut and you'll have TC slip. Traction control, as I said, is the overall TC system power. I find it 5 to 7 works here for me, but you can go higher if you need to. I believe some cars will go up to 11 as base, as the default setup. TC cut is how much power the system will cut when the traction control kicks in. I find it 3 to 5 works really well for me, but again, go higher if you need to. There's no shame in doing that, particularly as a beginner. TC slip is how far the car will slip before TC will kick in, so TC being traction control. Again, I find it 3 to 5 works for me. Play with the number, see what works with you. ABS, so the anti-lock braking system. Again, if you're not aware of what this is, this stops your wheels from locking up during heavy braking. This does 2 things. 1, it will stop you locking up and going off track, but 2, it also reduces tire scrub or flat spots from those lockups. For ABS, this is personal preference. Some like it high, I prefer mine low. Start with the default, which for some cars is around about 11, I think it is, and lower this if you feel you can. Personally, I go down to 6, 7, 8, depending on the car, and I find that works nice for me. The aim with ABS is for you to be able to brake hard, without locking up the wheels. That's how you know when you've hit the right level. If you start braking hard, you lock in the wheels, increase your ABS. Tip number 5, lastly but certainly not least, practice mode is your friend, but use it properly. If you're brand new to racing, then in the advanced session options, there is an option to toggle on private practice. This will put you on the track on your own. A great way to get used to how to drive, get used to your car, get used to the track in a completely stress-free environment. However, at some point you will need to get used to hypercars and LMP2 cars coming through, so as soon as you feel ready, turn off private practice and you'll get used to hypercars flying past you, possibly awkward moments, and teach you to keep an eye out for them. You can also do AI races, and you can do this with and without certain car types. So you can have all 3 car types, hypercar, LMP2, and GT3, or you can just have GT3 while you get used to the game. So have at it and have fun. Okay, so a bonus tip that's not numbered. And this one is actually the most important one. Remember, we do this for fun. So take the stress out of it. Don't worry. Relax. Chill. And concentrate on just enjoying yourself. That is the reason we do the sim racing. That's the reason we play these games. And I don't care what anyone says. Yes, they might be sims, but they're still games. We are driving fake cars around a fake track. So don't put any extra stress on yourself and just focus on enjoying your time in the game. So again, is this a good sim for beginner sim racers? I would say the answer to that is a strong yes. As I've said before, is it the best place to start? It's not my personal recommendation where to start. That will be coming in the next video. If you'd like to see that video, make sure you subscribe to the channel and you'll be able to get that on the next video. However, strong place to start if this is where you want to be. Having said that, there are plenty of online races for you to join. The AI is good, though not mind-blowing, as I've said. The cars, particularly the GT3 cars, are easier to drive than other games. The base setups are good. The Coach Dave Academy ones are good, though as I've said, they're not mandatory. You don't need to use them. The online are there in daily and weekly format, and you're split into driver, skill, and safety ranges. With the online system, you will be paired with drivers of the same skill range. So you're never going to be racing someone like Jardir, one of the aliens who can drive super fast and will lap you 100 times per race. You're going to be racing people like me, people like you, and that's a good place to be. And they're fixed setup, so you never have to touch the setup menu if you don't want to. However, I would recommend you go in and you play with the traction control values that I've said before and the brake bias values. Even in fixed, you're going to want to do these. And if you change those, I guarantee you'll be doing better than half of the people in that race who've probably never even opened the settings menu. As your skill increases, you'll be able to get into the silver class, you'll be able to go into multi-class races, and that's where this game comes into its own. It's got such a skill range that you can grow in this game for a long, long time. The graphics are nice, the force feedback is fantastic, the VR runs really, really well. The driving experience is great, VR and flat screen performance is good out of the box, and overall this is one of my favourite sims on the market. LMU has a very, very bright future, and you'd be wise to consider this as a game as a beginner. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I've been Just Dave, reminding you all to keep it rubber side down, stay positive, never give up, and remember, we do this for fun, so be nice to one another. I keep saying it, it's gonna stick one day. I promise. I hope. Till next time, take care.